now to start preparing your friends and your family to take on the personal responsibility of preparedness and survival mindsets. We have been brainwashed out of thinking that we need to prepare for ourselves. We've been, at least in the Western world, brought up in a culture of having everything available to us for the last 3 generations. No matter what is wrong, we have had it available to us. If you're hungry, there has always been supermarket shelves filled with food. If you're cold, there's always surplus and supply stores where you can get blankets. There's electricity where you can turn on your heaters or your central air. Too hot? That AC will kick on and keep you cool. We have this normalization of a 75-degree environment that truly is great for human health and the longevity of human health, but it is a fragile and broken system. It is prone to going down. So what do we do in this culture, in this generation, multi-generations, where we have no idea, the average person has no idea how to prepare for themselves? What will they do when there is no more food at the store? What will they do when the power doesn't come back on in 72 hours? They'll be scared. And they'll be suddenly kicked in the face, awakened to this reality that I am a human being, and I have to prepare for myself. No one else is going to come for me. No one else is going to help me. It is me. And so there's this great fog of mental instability. And the individual will put up a block right there and they'll say, that's uncomfortable. It doesn't make me feel very good. I don't want to even think about having to prepare for myself. I don't want to think about a time when the power doesn't come on. I don't want to think about a time when 911 doesn't get an answer, when the supermarket shelves don't have way more food than I'll ever be able to eat. I don't want to think about that because it makes me not feel good. And because we have had these generations of surplus and just overproduction and no self-responsibility, they have no idea how to handle it. And it's not just these generations, it's not just the current generation. It's my parents. My grandparents, of course, they would be in their 90s now. They had an idea of, they had the Great Depression. They knew that there were times of hardship and that it could happen to everybody. And so as we went into the 1900s and everybody said, it's great, let's get into a city. It's so great, I don't need a garden anymore, I want a front lawn with grass. They got kicked back with the Great Depression. And there was an awakening there by the individual because they felt some hardship. And then, because we haven't had that degree of hardship, we haven't had those world wars, we haven't had that personal realization that pain and suffering exists, we've had this lollipop and rainbows attitude for the future generations, where they just think, I'm owed it, I don't have to think about it, it's all at my disposal. But when that stops, when they're no longer able to call 911 because the bad guy who does believe in guns is at their door, they're in for a lot of pain and a lot of suffering. So now is the time that we can start preparing those people. We can start talking to friends and family. And it's not hard. You'll know right away whether there is any room for improvement in that mindset of that person. And just bring up common things that are happening in our world. Talk about the civil war in Syria. Show some pictures. Maybe print some out. People aren't used to that physical media. Print out those pictures and say, can you believe people are living in this? Show the bullet-strewn windows and the bomb-strewn concrete buildings. Say people are still living there, and they have to survive every day without access to food or medicine, with no electricity. The constant threat that the jet that is going over may have dropped a bomb that's going to land on your area. And those who stay and haven't evacuated have to suffer through that. Open that line of dialogue with them. If that might seem too harsh and that's going to break through their veil, Make it a little simpler. Talk about the wildfires and how that devastated people and how they had to go into shelters because they didn't have a backup plan. Talk about the tsunamis that are happening around the world, volcanic activity, natural disasters, things that the average person goes, a storm's coming, I understand I need, biologically, instinctually, I have a need to go inside. That instinct is still there, so maybe natural disasters would be a better way to start. Talk about tornado shelters, things like that. But now is the time to start preparing others. We are reaching a tipping point, a peak in the duct tape that has held humanity together for so long. Every Wednesday we do a live show here on the channel, and it's usually at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. A couple of our supporters there who really like what we do and like that community aspect and support what we do in our outreach and that nonstop, constant discussion of preparing others, support us through live chats. Super chats is what it's called on YouTube. And we have made it a part of our mission that a portion of each one of those super chats goes into getting survival goods and items into the hands of those who want to prepare but don't have the economic means. And so we make the most out of every single dollar to make that happen. And of course, you're not going to see big ticket items like Geiger counters, rifles, things like that. Those aren't going to those individuals. It's the common things that the people can't even afford. Sawyer mini filters is a big one. Tin cans to start a food pantry or to start a bug out bag, shelter systems, some rope, things like that. And on I think it was last Wednesdays, maybe it was the Wednesday before, Chip Signal, one of the super chat and supporters of the channel, he said this is to go to Sawyer mini filters. And so last night, Kelly and I took the boys up to the store and we went survival shopping for some people. We have people who reach out to us and they want to talk about survival, or maybe it's for a friend. We validate that they truly have that economic hardship, build a lasting relationship, a long relationship with them through that validation process. Of course, we don't discuss that we're going to be sending them something. It's just a budding communication, relationship based on communication. And then we see what their needs are, and we're able to send some things out to them. Last night, we took the boys up to Walmart. We got Sawyer mini filters. Thank you, Chip. Ramen noodles, truly an inexpensive and pack-ready food. Tin cans, mostly those cans are in place of stainless steel cups, something that people can continue to boil water in, something that they can use to gather water, things like that, reheat other food. So we got some canned foods. We got tarred catfish line. This catfish line has a breaking poundage of, I think, it was either 230 or 330 pounds. Basically, it's just for tying your shelter down. I decided to go with the tarred because it's going to help people who don't have a great grasp on their knot tying. It's going to help that knot stick together. It's really inexpensive for hundreds and hundreds of feet. I recommend you guys get it and put some of it into your pack. We got some first aid gear. We've got maxi pads. Those are sanitary women's pads. Those are meant to catch body fluid. And so they're a great item for survival and preparedness. Number one, because they are they're prepared in a sanitary environment. So they are, you can apply them to a wound without as much concern as just applying a t-shirt or another bandage. We got some sports tape. Sports tape is great. It goes on your feet. And it's proven to stop blisters when you're going on long treks or hikes. We've got some soap. We got some masks, the inexpensive ones. They're not even N95s, but they are going to help with debris if you're in an area with debris or ash fallout, things like that. We got super glue. The only difference between super glue and what you'll find in the hospital setting is the environment that it was created in. One is very stringent, and one is, could have dust or other particles that could cause a problem down the road. But if you need to get that wound shut or you need to do something with it, I'm going to go with whatever I have available. We got a couple of small $5 backpacks. some moving blankets. Moving blankets are very inexpensive. I actually use moving blankets to dampen sound, and they have a great insulation in them. They're only $5. The thing is, if they get wet, they're not going to help you at all, so you need to keep them inside of your shelter environment. We got a couple of cheap tarps, and I printed out and laminated some survival sheets for them, 8.5 by 11 normal printer sheets, with just some common survival tips and information on them. Some knot tying, shelter building, fire making, what to do in case of these emergencies, just really common things, and it's just text-based, something they can have in that backpack. So I want to thank each one of you for helping us get those survival items into the hands of other people. Thank each one of our Patreon members and everybody who super chats on the live shows, because without that, we wouldn't be able to get as much into the hands of those who maybe feel the need. They know the need is there. But that extra $5 is going to feeding their child. That extra $10 or $20 on a Sawyer mini filter is going to paying the bill that they would be without otherwise. So thank you for helping us get that into the hands of those people. And please, everybody, just a couple of dollars. If you find somebody who has that need for preparedness, talk with them, tell them, hey, let's go up to the dollar store, let's go to Walmart, let's go shopping, and just take a couple of dollars and start that kit. It can start very small. It can start in a Ziploc bag for all it matters. And they're just going to see that, okay, I've got that item in there, I know what I'm going to use that for. Oh, I've got those masks in there, I know what I'm going to use that for. Those gloves, okay, I know when to get those. Pretty soon they're going to, just with dollar store items or very inexpensive items, they're going to say, I need to take this gallon bag and turn it into a backpack. They're going to find a used backpack at a surplus store or Goodwill or Salvation Army. They're going to put the items in there, and that's how you get started in survival and preparedness.